take on the world. Standing tall, we gotta make it our own. No waiting around. Winners would never look down. No one can stop us, we got it. The future is right in our hands. Give it 100%. We gonna take on the world. Yeah, we gotta move. Speaking the truth. Yeah, paying our dues. We making the news. Yeah, we hitting the roof. No, we don't wanna lose. Climbing and shaking the walls. We gotta break all the rules.
What's going on, everybody? Another edition of the Jag Wire after week 10, I believe. Another downer, but we're here to talk about it. I'm Matthew Grieve, and our co-hosts are Josh Allen
What's up?
and Cody Cold Gaming.
Gang.
Cody Jags by 50.
And before we get started, guys, we got to pay the bills just like everyone else does. We got to put a roof over our head and food on the table. This show is fortunately, and we are so grateful that they're a part of us, is Manscaped. Keep it short and sweet, guys. You want to take care of your goods, Manscaped has the goods. Go to their website, manscaped.com, for 20% off shipping for all of your hygiene needs. I've been a happy customer for several years now, and my only regret is not finding them sooner. Again, manscaped.com. Enter the promo code FANBATTLE for 20% off and free shipping.
They're just waiting to take your money. Give them your money. Get your
Gotta
discount.
go somewhere.
Get your free shipping.
Your money's not going to go with you when you die. So
That's right.
But anyways, guys, so this past week we ran into the juggernaut that is the Kansas City Chiefs. The week prior, we did get a win, and my hopes was that momentum, if you believe that's such a thing in sports, we were able to carry that momentum into Kansas City and maybe get a dub. And as we all found out, that did not happen.
I just want to say I did say last week that the Jags would lose by 10, and I was right. Got the score slightly wrong, but they did lose by the exact amount of points I thought they would lose by. They're just not there yet, man. Like, they're just not. They they started the game in the most Jaguar way possible, right? So an onside kick, they recover it, punt. Then they get a big interception, punt. No points. Two plays where they should have come away with points. They should have been able to do something. And, then Kansas City scores, go up 14-0, I think it was, and the Jags were chasing and they could just never quite catch up. I think you're muted, Matthew.
Yeah.
I am muted. It's not an actual Zoom call if you don't.
That's true, right?
No, for all of our loyal fans out there that did watch the show from last week, we appreciate you. Salute to you guys. I did predict that the Jaguars were going to go in with that momentum and win, just like what we did with the Chargers and the Colts, and yet it didn't happen. It's kind of a bummer. I have so much I could say, but we'll see what Cody has to say.
Yeah, man. I was excited. I was like, if the Colts can do it, we can. Yeah, we shut out the Colts, and they had luck with the Chiefs or whatever. But it is what it is. The onside kick, I actually liked that. I enjoyed that. I know that's a hot take. I haven't seen it many times, and it worked. If it works, it's good. If it's a stupid idea and it works, it's not a stupid idea.
Well, yeah, it worked. Like, they got the onside kick, but the offense just went 3 and out and punted. That's the Jaguar. The most Jaguar part of it is they did something excellent that's not done very often. They did the sort of thing you have to do when you're a team that's not quite as good as the Chiefs. You have to pull out all the stops to beat a team like that when you're trying to be the up and coming contender, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't land the punches the way they wanted to, or the way they needed to.
Right. Yeah, it was not capitalizing and just making mistakes. And there was moments in the game where they did capitalize and they did it well. So it was just about consistency at that point.
Well, this was 100% a winnable game. It was never out of reach. The Jags did not get the doors blown off them, even though statistically speaking, we're overdue. Just based on the history of this franchise. But and that's the thing. It's just like, oh, okay, we're gonna be just on the cusp, pretty consistently, and not be able to get over the hump. A lot of people are speculating that Doug Peterson is treating this year sort of like an extended training camp, and that's why they're doing some of the what looks like wacky decision making that they're doing sometimes, and Peterson's sort of darned if he does, darned if he doesn't, right? Because our kicker, what's his name, Riley Patterson, is Riley his first name, I think. They attempted 3 field goals, 2 of which in situations in the previously in the year they probably would have gone for it, and I just looked. You get a touchdown, maybe a field goal at the beginning of the game off those 2 big plays, and then you hit a field goal, and you're right there in that 10-point game. 1, 2, 3 points coming to the end of the game. They could not do enough.
Sorry, a lot of that was muffled on my end.
Yeah, your audio is kind of cutting out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just couldn't do enough to beat the Chiefs, right? Like they couldn't, they couldn't get the job done, and that's what we've seen all year, right? They just can't quite get over the hump.
I think what was interesting was so the onside kick was great. I'm good job, guys. That was awesome. I loved it. It was something new, like you said. Most teams in the NFL need to do something extra to beat the Chiefs. There's a handful of teams where you got to pull out all the stops to beat them. And the Chiefs are one of those. So I'm fine with that they did it. I'm glad that they didn't do that against the Texans, or although we lost to them, that may have helped. But it was interesting watching the game. We lost by 10 points. Now, some people could say, if we get those 2 field goals, if some idiot doesn't go down the field farther than they need to, we could have gotten a touchdown versus that field goal that we did make. Then that would have covered the 10 points, right? But I mean, if you recall during the game, not at any point did I ever feel like Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs ever felt like they were under duress, like they were trying to like, oh gosh, we got to do more. Like Patrick Mahomes and the whole Kansas City Chiefs team, they made it look easy. And if they needed to score 20 more points, 15 more points, they would have done it with ease, I think. So even if we would have had covered those 10 points with the field goals and that touchdown, I still think the Chiefs would have handily beaten us. Patrick Mahomes, he went 26 of 35, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, and he made it look easy. And who the heck is Pacheco? Like,
right.
And that's just the kind of day the Chiefs had, we can say what we want, if we'd have done this, if we'd have done that, it wasn't as close as the score even says. But like you said, they're almost trying out for next season or extended training camp, and I guess I'm okay with that. And it's the Chiefs, so you can't really expect a whole lot out of there, but it's still frustrating.
Yeah, 2 stats stick out to me. The first is third down efficiency. Jacksonville was 28% on third down, so 1 out of every 4, and Kansas City was 70%. Kansas City was converting 70% of their third downs. And then the other one that sticks out like a sore thumb, as I just looked through it, is penalties. Jacksonville had 5 penalties. Kansas City played mistake-free football, right? And you can always argue that there was probably a holding penalty that a referee missed or something, but they didn't make any bonehead mistakes where Jacksonville, arguably did. Specifically, I'm going to start giving what I call the Bonehead of the Week award, and this week it is Cam Robinson, bonehead. On a passing play, there's no need for you to run to the back of the end zone while Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball to Evan Ingram. So if you can knock it off, that'd be wonderful. Cam Robinson, you're the Bonehead of the Week. Congratulations. The first ever inaugural Bonehead of the Week.
Congratulations.
Hey, I mean, Robinson should feel honored, because honestly, the way that the Jags play, especially on the defense, I mean, there were a lot of candidates. And so for you to win the Bonehead of the Week, I mean, you had to do something special.
True. Yeah. It's a prestigious award, man. And the other thought that I had too was, the Jaguars have a lot of time-honored traditions, and one of our time-honored traditions is letting good tight ends just do whatever they want all over the field. And shout out to the Jaguars for keeping that tradition going on Sunday and letting Travis Kelce just do as he pleased, sometimes without a man in sight. Like, the camera angles that they showed on television, like there's just no defenders around him at all. So congratulations, Jaguars. You've continued to do what you always do and do it to the best of your terrible ability.
Oh, and who's candidate of the week for let's make him look like a Pro Bowler? That would be Kadarius Toney, the guy that did nothing until he played the Jags. The guy ran for 33 yards rushing. He's a wide receiver, guys. He rushed for 33 yards, and he caught 4 passes for 57 yards with a tutty.
Yep.
So Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, and now we can add Kadarius Toney to the list of the guy who did nothing until he played the Jags. He will probably be riding the bench next week.
Oh, and Devontae Adams too. We can put, even though they beat the Raiders, technically they let Devontae Adams basically do whatever he wanted. Kadarius Toney, I would argue Kadarius Toney is probably pretty good. Having watched him play at Florida, the man has talent. But there's no reason that he should have been as wide open as he was sometimes. So I guess like the other question is, here's the big question I have, and we could talk more about this next week when we have our sort of bye week / mid-season, where are we kind of a show. Dave Caldwell. If you're Doug Peterson, do you keep him? Do you bring him back next year with how this defense has played? I don't know.
It's so interesting because when they came out of the gates, like the rest of the Jaguars team, they came out of the gates on fire, right? Like the defense, what's his face? The defender he was rookie of the month. Oh dang it. It's
Devin Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd was rookie of the month. Our defense was shutting out. They were carrying the team. Now our offense wasn't horrible, but at the beginning of the year our defense was it, right? And then all of a sudden, I mean, every offense probably wants a piece of the Jaguars defense right now.
Yeah, you can't argue that too many teams would be afraid to play the Jaguars at this point. From a defensive perspective, I think offensively, the Jaguars, when they have very good games, the Jaguars' offense is probably more troublesome to opposing teams than the defense is at this point. Yeah. But I don't know. Is it Dave Caldwell's fault that Josh Allen disappears? In games, is it Dave Caldwell's fault that some of these defensive backs couldn't cover their mama with a blanket? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whose fault it is, but I think what's crazy is because they've got to figure out a way to get wide receiver help in the draft next year or in free agency, but they've also got to do something on defense because defense is not getting the job done. They're not even getting stops in like crucial situations anymore, right? At the beginning of the year, they had some of that too. They were getting turnovers, they were getting stops, they were giving up a bunch of yards, but they made plays when they needed to make plays, and you don't see much of that from them at this point.
It seems like there's games, and this one being one of them, where our offense is really good. Trevor Lawrence had a great game, and then our defense just doesn't show up, and then it's the opposite at other points, especially in the beginning of the season, like you said, with our defense playing lights out. I thought Saxonville was back, and then all of a sudden, nothing. I don't hear Trayvon Walker's name. I hardly hear Josh Allen's name. I heard him. I heard his name during the Chiefs, but other than that, like for the past 2 games, like the Raiders and whatever, I haven't really heard much of him. And that's insane for being somebody that's like a key piece of our defense. And is that Dave Caldwell's fault? It could be. Whatever. Is it game planning and stuff? I mean, Andy Reid is an amazing, play caller. That Travis Kelce pass. Travis Kelce actually was behind the line and ran across, and nobody was covering that side, because they all ran with the receivers, and he just free floated down the sideline. And it was, I mean, I handed it to him. Andy Reid's got that, and but as a defensive coordinator, you got to know who you're going up against and what kind of plays are involved.
And I don't know enough behind the scenes to know, did Dave Caldwell not call a play that the defense was able to cover Kelsey in that scenario, or did whomever that should have seen that and slide over to cover him just not do it?
Yeah, it didn't look like anybody even noticed. Like he just free floated. It was a race for him. That was it.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? How many? I don't know if you guys can remember but for me, I know there were several dropped passes by the Kansas City Chiefs that should have gone for 10, 15 yards. That for me, I was like, whew. But just imagine if the Chiefs had they didn't drop the balls because the Jag defenders had good defense. They just didn't catch the ball. And so
I mean, there were a couple of plays where like Andre Cisco,
right,
and a couple of defenders, they did make some plays, but they didn't consistently make plays. And yes, I agree, they got very lucky on a handful of plays where the Chiefs could have had some big games. And there was one, if I recall correctly, where there was nobody behind that guy, and he drops the ball, and if he catches that ball, he's gone. It's 7.
Yeah,
or 6, whatever.
Now I don't know if it's the defensive coordinator's head that needs to roll, but there needs to be a head that needs to roll, because freaking Walker, I hope he has a fantastic life, and I hope he has, I wish nothing but the best for the guy. But whoever decided to draft him and put together a plan that said, hey, listen, we know he's not the best pass rusher, but that's what we're going to draft him for. We're going to put together a plan, and we're going to train him up. Well, that hasn't happened. And you know what you didn't need to do? You didn't need to draft him, because you had the guy from Michigan, Aiden Hutchinson. He was ready to go. He was a plug and play. Go ahead and get after the quarterback. Someone's head has to roll for that.
Trent Baalke, I don't know. I still say they should fire Trent Baalke. I don't understand how that guy's still here. But I agree. And I'm going to talk about this more when we do our next show, looking at the season in total, Aiden Hutchinson's stats versus Trayvon Walker's stats. And it's clear, it's quickly becoming a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Like Aiden Hutchinson, if you watched any of that game, I watched a little bit on the Red Zone channel, with the Lions playing the Bears. Aiden Hutchinson is making plays that are impactful to the game in a positive way for his team, unlike Trayvon Walker, whose only impactful moments have been 3 bonehead penalties in 3 different games, and he did have 1 interception, I guess. It was in that first or second game. But
tipped at the line and landed in his hands.
Yeah, which I mean, a lot of players don't make that play though, right? A lot of players drop that ball and they can't. So credit where credit is due as far as that goes. But other than that, his impact has been negative.
Yeah, honestly, the rumors of Josh Allen being traded, not you, Josh Allen, but the other Josh Allen, kind of wish he would have been traded. I would take some draft capital for that guy. Him and Walker are disappearing. Those are guys that are supposed to be our ends, that are supposed to be terrorizing the backfield of the quarterbacks, and they're just not doing it. They're not cutting it out. So you know what? Either we need to get a competent, I don't know, bring in Rex Ryan. I don't know, somebody that can coach these players up, because apparently we're going to be stuck with them. And
it's one of those things I've said for years. I don't know how to fix all of the Jaguars' problems.
Right.
And this year is no exception. But I just know that they need to fix it. Right. Yeah. Like I'm tired of watching the team not be good. I'm tired of, and this year to an extent is more frustrating because they are just good enough to feel like they have a chance.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't actually have a chance, but there's this fool's gold sort of a feeling to their performances this year that's just so frustrating, at least to me. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, I had super high hopes after the Washington game. I was like, this team looks phenomenal compared to last year.
Yeah. And
we're losing by 1 score to these teams where we should be winning. I mean, if it wasn't for the mistakes, and those are, in my opinion, some fixable issues, and it just doesn't seem to be getting fixed. And I don't know what's the reason behind that.
Yeah, it just sucks when you had the first overall pick and you screwed it up. Like, just such a Jaguar thing to do, right? And I hate that that's a saying. Like, it shouldn't be that way, but. With all the negativity, there's got to be some sort of positivity that comes out of the game, right? Or out of the season so far. And we'll probably touch base more on this next week about the midseason recap. But, we are frustrated because we do feel like that we have the talent and the capabilities to win these games, right? Whereas last year and the years before, we never had a chance. Never had a chance. If the Oklahoma Sooners probably rolled in on us the past couple years, we would have lost. Like, that's how it felt. Maybe that's not true, but that's how it felt. Yep. This year, some positivity to swing it if you want to, is that we're frustrated because we do think we could win. Um, T-Law, he's been efficient. He's been a game manager. Unfortunately, we didn't draft you to be a game manager. We drafted you to be the guy that wins the games for us. I don't need a Tony Romo. I don't need an Alex Smith. What I need is a Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, guy who's.
I don't think he's even in Tony Romo's level.
Oof.
I don't even think he's as good. I mean, maybe he will be, but I don't think right now he's as good as Tony Romo.
Well, we'll take his efficiency for now, I guess. He didn't throw any interceptions. He had 5 sacks. I'm sure some of those were on him because he has a tendency of holding the ball too long, staring down a player. Christian Kirk was a bright spot. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I thought he played excellent. I think that was his best game so far this year as a Jaguar. So that was nice to see him earn some of that money that we gave him. But I mean, it's not his fault we overpaid him. I've said that before, but it was nice to see him have a game where it's like, oh, okay, you sort of see why they were willing to give him the cash that they gave him, which some of the past games I haven't really understood that. So
I mean, he's not a true wide receiver number one, and I think even he knows that or whatever. But he's really good in the slot, and he showed that against the Chiefs.
Yeah, what I liked from what I saw out of Kirk was not only did he catch the balls and put up some numbers, but I mean the guy laid his body out on the line for a lot of those. Like there were some tough catches that he had.
Yeah.
Not only catching the ball but running after yards after the catch was great. So. Some bright spots. Obviously, we had some not so good spots. What do you guys think about? I think it was Cisco that had some really gnarly hits on them.
I guess let's talk about the big hit, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah,
I think that's a legal hit. I think it's a legal, the sort of hit that you want to see, players make nowadays. It's still a physical, violent hit, but it's not unnecessarily, violent. And I think, like I said, I think that's. He had probably his best game of the season this year also. Yeah. You could sort of argue, I think the Chiefs let off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that, made it easier for a couple of defensive guys to have decent games. But, he could only defend the play that the offense runs, right? And it seemed like he was doing that pretty well. So
what do you think, Cody?
Man. It reminded me, and I got nostalgic of the football that I grew up with.
Yeah,
I used to see those type of hits all the time, and I was excited. And then hearing the crowd, boo, whatever, and going on Twitter later and finding out like it was trending at a point in time. How is that a legal hit? Like the fans of this violent sport have changed drastically, and I'm like, you wanted to turn it into flag football? I mean, come on. But I loved it. I enjoyed it, and it sucks that that type of stuff happens, man. I mean, Juju is going to bounce back. He's going to be great again, and it really sucks that happened to him. But guard your grill.
I think also. Pat Mahomes sort of hung Juju Smith-Schuster out to dry a little bit with that throw too.
Yeah.
Right. You got to know that that's the defense. The defense is going to key on a play like that. But Andre Cisco, he didn't launch. He stayed on his feet.
Yeah.
Used his shoulder. He tried to move his head out of the way as he's hitting the guy. I don't know what else you want to do. I will say though, as far as the fans go, every fan base is going to jeer that play, right? The fans are going to try to goad the referees into giving a penalty, even when a penalty isn't due. But defense has always, since I started watching football when I was a kid, defense is always my favorite side of the ball. I love a good hit. I love a good, just defense that can just shut down the other team. Big John Henderson is probably my all-time favorite Jaguar player. So I don't know. I love that aspect of the game. Like I just think it's like like Cody said, you take that out of the game, and to me, it's not right. I don't know. It's not as enjoyable. Makes me a Neanderthal, but I love the violent aspect of the game. I mean that's one of the beautiful things about the sport is these guys are doing these highly intricate, physical, things. They're able to catch passes and do all these other stuff in a very precise way. But also have to avoid the sort of violent, violence that comes along with it. Like I just think it's that's one of the aspects of the sport. It's kind of like hockey. A lot of folks want to take fights out of hockey, but that's part of the game. It's part of the toughness that comes along with it. And, if you eliminate that, less danger to me makes it less valuable and less fun. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
I mean, you got a decade of Tom Brady getting patted on the back or whatever, and that's what these NFL fans have seemed to enjoy now. And I don't get it.
Yeah, but even Tom Brady said in an interview a couple of years ago, his first year with the Bucs, he believes it's the quarterback's responsibility to try to not put his receivers in positions where they're going to get clobbered. Yeah. So he understands that it's not entirely on. It's not I think his exact words. It's not the defense's job to protect my receivers. That's my job. So I don't know.
Yeah. I was happy to see it. I think my favorite part of that play was the fact that the refs were willing to pick up the flag, because they initially threw a flag, but they were willing to pick it up. And rarely do you ever see them pick up obvious calls, right? Like rarely do you ever see them swallow their pride and pick up the flag. So I was happy. In fact, I think they picked up 2 flags in that game, which I was happy to see. I think they both favor the Jaguars, and I'm sure Kansas City Chiefs fans will debate me on that, but I don't know. Football's a violent sport.
If it was reversed, we'd probably be sitting here saying, "Oh, everybody, you always have rose-colored glasses,
right?"
So
the zebras were on our side this time, so I'll take it.
The zebras were on our side, and we still managed to get 5 penalties. So congratulations, idiots. Good job.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. Any final thoughts from you guys about the game?
No, I mean, they're so close. It still feels like they're close to being good, right? But closer than they've been in the past. At this point, there's been a lot of seasons in the past where the wheels had completely fallen off the bus and every game was a disaster. And as bad as that was on Sunday, and yes, the Chiefs won and they won it, the Chiefs were in command of that game the whole time. Yeah. It felt like you didn't necessarily feel like it was a disastrous game, right? So I just, I hope that somehow Doug Peterson has the answers, and between now and next year they can get it figured out. But time will tell.
I'm with you, man, and it's up in the air for me. I mean, after the Ravens, we have Lions, Titans, Cowboys, Jets, Texans, Titans. Do I think we could win out? Sure, but do I think we could lose out as well? Yeah, that's the reason that I'm going to watch these games. Not only because I'm a Jaguars fan, because it's exciting this year, and that's a
I'm more interested in watching all the way through to the end of the year than I have been in the past few years, for sure.
And
if we do lose most of the rest of the games, I hope the 2 that we win are both against the Titans. And somehow I hope the Colts come roaring back with fighting Jeff Saturday and win the division and knock the Titans out. And I hope that they do that in part because the Jags beat the Titans twice. So suck on that, you Mayo eaters.
Well, I think for me, final thoughts on the Chiefs game. Like I said, there's a lot of bad things we could say coming out of the game, but there's a few good things, and it's nice to be able to find those rays of sunshine. Whereas in years past, there wasn't any, other than, well, we're getting close to the first overall pick, right? And so, we're seeing a little bit of progress, and I think we saw some of that in this game. We did see some regression, but let's hope that's a one-off. And we'll see what we can do into the bye. But I think that's it, guys. Where can we find you on your socials?
At Cody Cold Gaming on Facebook and Twitch and TikTok.
Yep, you can find me Josh Gives Up. Also, just in general on Facebook. So
yeah, you can find me. I'm Matthew G Sports on Twitter. You can also find us at at Jag Wire Network. Also, before we go, we're still doing the giveaway for each social media account. Once we hit 1,000 followers or subscribers in each account, we will be doing a giveaway, a gift card giveaway for each separate account. And so go ahead and tell your mom, tell your friends, go down your contact list in your phone and send everybody a message and say, hey, go like their social medias. You might get a $25 gift card, or I might. And like Josh likes to say, create some bots. We're fine with that.
Yeah, we don't care. We don't care.
Yeah.
Just get us followers.
But stay tuned to the podcast and especially the Fan Battle Network. We got a lot of great things coming. And I think we're going to have some really good shows next week. We're going to dive a little bit deeper than we normally do. Let's get out of the shallow end and go into the deep end. So, but anyways, guys, thanks for showing up, all you loyal fans, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
Later.